Good morning to the young and the young at heart. Sometimes I think it's good to step back and look at what we call the big picture to get an overview of something. So we could say the Bible is about the kingdom and the king. That's the summary of the whole story. I mean, of course, the true story, the story that we are living and that we will live in the future. It's like this illustration I gave before. Imagine you were trying to put this puzzle together, but you didn't have the box with the picture on it. For some reason, you only had this small section of the whole picture. Could you put the puzzle together? Probably not. You need the whole picture so you know what you're supposed to be doing. So the big picture of the whole Bible could be summarized as the kingdom and the king, the land and the leader, the earth and the emperor, the world and the one who will rule it. I couldn't come up with a good word that started with W, so the world and the one who will rule it will have to do for now. Here's a question for you. Who came first? Jesus, David, or Abraham? Who lived first? Of course, we know one of them is still living. Can you put these three men in order in history? Well, what does the Bible say? The very first verse of the New Testament, Matthew 1:1, says, Jesus the Messiah, which means chosen king, the son of David, the son of Abraham. So now do you know who lived first? Jesus had these two very important people in his family tree, Abraham and David. When it says son, it means that David was Jesus' great, etc. grandfather, and Abraham was Jesus' great, even more greats grandfather. So why are these two ancestors of Jesus singled out in the first verse of the New Testament? Why are they so important? Because Abraham, who came first, was promised the land or kingdom. And then King David, who came second, was promised that there would be a king to rule forever. And of course, Jesus, who came third, will be the promised king of that future kingdom. Here's a timeline. We don't ask you to memorize a whole lot of dates in Sunday school, but these ones are easy to remember. First, there is Abraham, and he lived around 2000 BC. That's 2,000 years before Christ. Then about 1,000 years later was King David, and he lived about 1000 BC. That's 1,000 years before Christ. Of course, Jesus is the dividing line for dates. BC means before Christ, and AD does not actually mean after death. It means Anno Domini, which is Latin for the year of our Lord. So here we are in the year of our Lord 2022. We are living about 2,000 years after Jesus was born, and Abraham was living about 2,000 years before Jesus was born. And of course, in the future, we don't know when, is the kingdom, and we always need to be ready for it. So let's start with Abraham, about 4,000 years ago. He was promised the land or kingdom part of this puzzle. God said to Abraham, look to the north, south, east and west. Notice not up to heaven. I will give all the land that you see to you and your descendants forever. But it says in the New Testament, God did not give any of it to him, not even a foot of land. Yet God promised to give it to him and to his descendants after him. Did you catch that? God promised to give Abraham all the land, but he hasn't yet given him even a square foot of land. You've heard the expression, Houston, we have a problem? Well, Abraham, we have a problem. God promised to give Abraham the land, in fact, the whole world. And God always keeps his promises. But Abraham is dead and didn't get the land. So what is the solution? Do you know? You guessed it. The resurrection and the kingdom. Abraham will be resurrected to live again, and he and we will receive the land and the whole world. So we've settled the land or kingdom part of this puzzle. But a kingdom needs a king, and this is where David comes in. The king was promised to David, who was himself also a king. God said to David, "I will raise up your descendant after you, and I will set up his kingdom. I will establish the throne of his kingdom forever." That was another promise from God, and of course we know that God always keeps his promises. So, is Jesus now ruling on earth forever? Is he now sitting on the throne of David? You know that the answer is no. So what is the solution? It's the same solution as with Abraham. It will happen in the future when the resurrection happens and the kingdom comes. So we can say the Bible is about Abraham, David, and Jesus. The kingdom and the king, the land and the leader, or the earth and the emperor, or the world and the one who will rule it. And that is the big picture.